Introduce Andrew to everyone.
We are started.
Hello, everyone. An official welcome to the Office Hours webinar for April, where we're going to be talking CINC AI. CINC AI is one of our newest CINC features, and you may be listening to this already having started AI and wanting to know a little bit more about it, or maybe you're curious about it and you're trying to make the choice to make that decision. Am I going to use CINC AI or not? Of course, AI is artificial intelligence. It is our smarter conversations, real connections that we're making with leads via intelligent AI text messaging. So we're going to talk today with a very special client who is near and dear to mine and Mike's hearts. Andrew Scherer is with us. Andrew, could you say hello and give us a quick intro about where you are and what your kind of team makeup is?
Absolutely. So, hey gang, how are you? Hello, CINC Nation. I am absolutely jazzed out to be on this format today with two amazing people, with Cayla and Mike. And I've had taken every advantage between everything that they did educationally or have done or are still doing educationally, and certainly John Marone's work that he does Mondays at 3 p.m. as well with conversion training. And I just stop me if I go on too much.
No, I love it. Keep going.
I'm still coming off the high on the conversion training up in Atlanta like a month ago, and which was, just awesome as a 3-day revamped educational piece. And I've been to a lot of trainings, and I got to tell you that was it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. But where I'm at, I'm in Sarasota, Florida, and so are the friends. I see some friends out there that are joining the call today as well. That's out in Sarasota, and just a brief hey to those guys. I've been on the platform for I think maybe about 2 years or so, and just really got into it actively within the last year and a half, in terms of really understanding the platform and having it really become my primary, if you will, right? In the business. I'm a coach at my office. It's 44 coaching clients, and I've got assistant coaches, and I've got a busy day pretty much in the coaching process. I also have a real estate business.
I think you got muted.
There we go. Better?
Yeah, so, you're back.
All right. So, and I do have a real estate business on the side. I have one other agent. I've got a transaction coordinator, and I have someone that handles my marketing with the same last name. Actually, it's my daughter. She's amazing. Got more than a cheap college T-shirt from her, after her marketing degree was attained here in Florida. So yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Been in the business about 16 years. I was a team leader at a company that, probably got a hat behind me. It gives you an idea. We're KW. I went from that to coaching. So that's it. That's it.
Awesome. I'm just going to do a quick mute. We've got some noise. Okay, I'm rolling on my phone today. Having some computer issues, so it takes me a little longer, but that's a great intro, and thank you for plugging our webinars and CINC University. We love that. So I want to dive right into talking about AI, of course. So tell me, Andrew, a little bit about I know that you were part of our AI beta program. So what kind of led you to say, you know what, this is in beta, I want to be one of those testers? What kind of led you to jump into that beta program for CINC AI?
Well, it's really about time, right? I mean, typically with an agent, and I'm no exception, typically with an agent, it's about, what we're doing in terms of money, but also about how do we win back time. And, often, and we try to monetize time, and that's not an easy task, but basically, as far as the amount of time that I was putting in and where a lot of my leads in terms of later in the evening that those leads were coming in, it was a great goal to be able to have Alex, the AI out there responding, at 11 o'clock at night. And it's just been a big advantage. And we've had some ups and downs, Alex and I. We've come to terms.
Mhm.
you know, and what in the result, because and you know, and I'm not plugging you for any other reason other than you get for real, all right? And I'm gonna be wholeheartedly transparent and integral with you. The sync community has been very, like, their ears are open and paying attention, and without a doubt, listening to all of us out there that are using the product. And you know, the best example of that experience is the trip to Atlanta, when you know, you can have a conversation with people that are making things happen, you know, for thousands of people that are also on the program, but they're open to, you know, what your thoughts are and ideas. And
Awesome.
you know, that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. So we ran the beta program for a few months, and at that time, you kind of had the decision: do I want to continue doing this? Am I happy with it? So you decided, obviously, to stick with it because you're still, once it went live, so
Yeah.
you're still using AI. What was the real kind of, other than getting your time back? What kind of was it that made you say, yeah, this is a product I want to continue to use? What were the real benefits that you saw on your team?
Well, you know, in all truthfulness, I did put it on pause when this guy showed up.
Uh-huh. We had a little bit of an alien text that we
No,
changed based on that feedback.
yeah, when he showed up, you know, and that's where we put it on pause.
Hmm.
And, you know, because I'm in an area where it's a destination, and we have, you know, folks moving in from out of other areas, and, you know, and we have some older folks in like that. And when my alien buddy showed up on some of the text messages as an emoji, asking if, you know, I haven't heard from you, if you've been abducted by aliens, I was like, oh, ouch, you know, so that was tough. But we were able to get by that, right? And you know, you probably asked me how, but it's basically with a phone call, trying to clumsily explain the sense of humor, which, you know, was
Not your favorite.
not my favorite, but the sense of humor that my assistant Alex had, you know, not knowing who he's speaking with, and hopefully that, you know, you are willing to put that behind you, and then we're right back into script as far as, you know, understanding what they're looking to do there. So, you know, and finding,
And
yeah.
how did those conversations go when you gave those people a call? You saw that Alex, which, by the way, I just have to say, on recording, definitively, we do not send out that text anymore. But
Yes, no, I know
when those
that. Yeah,
people,
no, I was told that. Yeah.
when they got those texts, and maybe they had a negative response, or maybe you know, maybe they just didn't respond, but you saw it went out and you kind of wanted to smooth things over just in case. How did those were people receptive to that?
They were very much so, because it was, you know, we approached it on a level of humor, and that's how they responded. And, you know, and they said, well, geez, for a minute there, I didn't quite understand what they meant, you know.
Hmm.
Well, you know, it's just the way that that expression went. And it was really just kind of a tongue-in-cheek humor. And so, you know, let's get back to, you know, what you're really there on the site for. And, and let's understand that going forward. And, you know, this is who I am, and I'm learning who you are and what your must-haves are, et cetera. And why it's important to be here in Sarasota. We go back to motivation, but ultimately we end up in a good place. So it was really fine. It was really fine. It's just that first impression, right? That you want to be able to make immediate, it actually was a good thing, because it prompted me to make a sooner contact, to reach out to them sooner than later and not let it go.
Hmm.
Right. So in a sense, it was good. Always looking at the upside here, right, Cayla?
Yes, I love that. I'm all about positivity and being optimistic. So, Mike, what's next? What questions do we have for Andrew?
Yeah, so we've kind of talked about some awkward things that had gone on with the alien emojis, and I'm sure there have been other conversations that weren't 100% perfect. And we kind of talked about how you work through those. AI doesn't just tee up the agent ready leads; it also kind of tees up the not interested people. It kind of gets rid of those unknowns a little faster.
Right.
How do you find dealing with that? How did you adopt to kind of getting some of those not interesteds on your plate from AI?
Yeah, it was, you know, just making that connection with the idea that when I saw that there was a conversation going on, knowing that once I jumped in to send a text message that would be something a little bit more personal with them, and knowing that that would sever the AI conversation, not that I was looking to do that. Actually, especially when I was in beta, I was like, let's go. Let's see what this has got. Let's put it to work. And, when it was correcting misspelled words on the text, as an example, right, with an asterisk, or, being challenged, is this a bot? Someone responded. And, of course not. Of course not. I'll have Andrew get in touch with you and so on and so forth. But it picked it up and moved right through it. And those are the types of things that I was really looking for. And I was happy to see that was going in that direction.
Yeah, I know some people that use AI have said that they kind of enjoy, in that same vein, that an AI has no problem working through an objection, whereas sometimes agents or ISAs, they stumble because they just don't know exactly what to say, but the AI always kind of has a response, right?
Right. Very fluid, guys, very fluid. But, Michael, I don't know if I answered your question completely. How did I do?
It did pretty close. It got us some really good information there. I was just curious how your team, because it's not just handing off, the agent ready, phone appointment ready leads. You're also getting some no's in there, like I'm not interested now, or
Right.
let's reconnect later. Sometimes we can see those no's and we kind of freak out because we're like, wait, this is broken. What's wrong?
Right.
How did your team adopt to getting those no's? Because, instead of your team picking up and getting the no, it was a machine.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like lead generation, right? I mean, if we're going for the no's in our lead generation, even if we're on in cold calls, just the idea of the win that comes from that when a no turns into a yes. And, and I had gone back with all of the AI conversations that I had just in the last that Alex had just in the last 5 or 6 months, and just looking for nuggets, little things that I could try to share here, and actually the follow-up phone calls with the no's were more successful than the yeses.
I want you to repeat that one. The follow-up phone calls were more successful than, what was that?
Than the yeses.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, and because here's the thing, right? So look at that. If you're scratching your head and you're puzzled by that, the yeses were about learning more about the area. The yeses were about establishing a timeline or reestablishing a timeline that they may have went in there and it may show up at like 12 plus months, but we knew that we learned that it was actually 3 to 6 months. But they were firm, they were open, they were willing to communicate. The no's were just folks that were confused, like they just walked into a retail store, for lack of a better way, just walked into a retail store and someone asked them, is there something I can do to help? And you're like, no, I'm just browsing, right? But ultimately they end up buying that jacket or that shirt or that type of thing. But we've had more success with those no's, and to the extent, I could tell stories, guys. I've got the data right here under my nose. Like with this one couple, they're elderly, they met on Match, which is kind of groovy. Can I do this? Can I tell a story?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they they met up on Match, and they're really they're really cool people. It's kind of cute actually. And they wanted to be in a certain area. We found them a house and they purchased a little over $500,000. Then from there, it went to selling her beachfront condo in Siesta Key. We just closed on that one last week. And then from there, it's selling his house up in Tampa. That was a referral out. And that ended up closing as well. And it's all from a no. All from, we're not interested. Yeah, we're just not interested. And, another gentleman that we just put under contract on a new build, he was like, just not interested. We're probably 2 to 3 years out, but we're coming to Sarasota, right? We're coming to Sarasota. Great, let's get coffee. And that turned into writing a contract on a new build. So I don't know, guys. It's I think you just got to stay the course and not let what your perception is kind of hamper your activities to where you're not following up and making the phone calls and getting by the not interested piece.
Yeah.
You know,
Because they took the time to register. So clearly there's some interest there, and it's making that personal connection that kind of really the real story starts to come out.
and they responded, not
Yeah.
interested. They didn't go crickets. They responded, not interested. So that should be, that's an open door, totally an open door. So as
So
go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask what you really think, because we have some people, to be completely transparent, they have started AI, they have not loved it, and they've turned the feature off. And I know you were one of those people. We corrected what you weren't into, so obviously you're back. But for those people that they didn't have a specific gripe like that, they just kind of say, it's not really working for me. What do you think the difference between the way you have kind of run AI in your team and someone who hasn't seen the success? What do you think that difference maker was for you?
I just think it's just trusting the system and then taking action behind it, right? We all know in business, follow-up's key. And if we're just letting, the AI run in a direction to where we get, we've gotten several ready for appointments, but I'm not waiting for that. I want to be taking action sooner than later. And, I'm finding that, especially if there's a level of immediacy right after the AI conversation, when they've been responsive, my conversion ratio is going to go right up through the roof, which, by the way, we know our conversion ratio, if we're picking the phone up these days, is right around 33 to 36%. At least that's what our classroom was when we dialed for an hour up in Atlanta.
Yeah, in setting that appointment.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that would be the difference, Cayla. That's a good question.
Thank you. I've got one more, and then I'm going to throw it back over to Mike. But there's something you mentioned closer to the beginning of the webinar where you said you love that AI is reaching out when people register, which in some cases are, a lot of times it's after hours, after you are done working for the day. You mentioned like 11 p.m. And that's actually a negative to some people, as they say, well, no one wants to be bothered that late, but it's a positive for you. And so I'm curious if you could kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, because I know when those touches are happening, in the evening hours, if I'm out on a date night with my wife or whatever that's going on, I have a level of confidence that it's going to be something that's going to be there for the morning. And that's just those are my morning calls. My morning call session just got, more enhanced. So, so my mindset is that, I know I've got to go through and call my P1s and so on, and my follow-ups and follow that practice, that we have. Plug.
Yes, I love it. Got that in CQ.
Right. But I know that my morning session is going to be enhanced, and it's going to bring opportunity. It's going to breed opportunity, really, for those contacts that are being made. Typically follow-ups, we like to say that, it's going to be the day of, the next day, 3 days later, 7 days later, and every 30 days. If we're looking at any kind of system in place for a follow-up process, but this has already started, and I really haven't hit the button. Well, I have actually, but Alex is doing the work for me.
I love that. Mike, what else do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back. You had mentioned that you were getting more yeses on the no's. Have you created kind of like an internal process for how you work those not interested leads? Any way you follow up with them specifically, or just kind of as they come across?
Well, they're going to be the most important to dial to me, because they had responded, and any of us that are out there on this call or listening to the recording later on, if you've got a level of competitiveness in you, knowing that you are going for the no's or you're not interested in looking at the conversion on those, that's a great discussion to have with your team, amongst your team, to be able to roll those back. So, this is work. It's work, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. There's a good result, and we've seen the payoff 10x with the platform and with the process. But Michael, to your question, I'd put those guys right at the top of the list as opportunity. Sure, you'll ring the folks that are like, yeah, I'm interested, and I have interest in a certain property or whatever. Yeah, those are easy calls. Those are immediate calls. But yeah, to really attack it, I think is having those no's and spending time with those guys very next day,
Yeah.
early the next day.
Awesome. Kind of start a day. You get those not interested and pick them up the next day. Go through those as part of top of day prospecting.
I see that you had responded back to our assistant. You were not interested. So tell me a little bit more about that. What's your situation? I mean, right back into John's script, plugging his Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern again. Right back to that.
I like it. Just role play, like slight tweaks to that scripting there. So you just kind of change the intro there a little bit and then jump right back into the script. I like that. It's really good.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I know you talked about one of those successes with the Match.com couple. Can you kind of highlight an overview of what your successes are, or kind of what you've seen out of AI?
Yeah, I mean, we've got right now in the pipeline, we've got 10 active buyers that are responsive, ready to go, that there is a timeline for purchasing because of CINC.
Wow.
Love that.
Right now.
10 active buyers. That's awesome.
Yeah, and these are, this isn't, I'm not giving you this isn't science fiction. This is legit. All right. And these are recent. The Google leads are like showing up. I mean, Google is that's really the way to go as far as leveraging that group. But yeah, we've got 6 months, 5 closings. One of those closings was $1 million deal up in Lakewood Ranch. And others have been, right around 859, over $500,000 in some cases. And yeah. So
what is your average price point usually, Andrew?
525.
Awesome.
525. Yeah. So we're doing good.
Yeah.
So you're even finding success with like the higher price point leads as well. So it's not something that, sometimes you think of high-end people as really elite, and they're not going to fall for gimmicks like a chat bot or an AI type feature, but you're finding success. They're not having any issues with connecting with those either.
No, not really. I mean, they're just, that's just the nature of our market, and things are moving pretty quick right now. And of course, those are conversations I think everybody on this call understands, across the country, and how responsive we have to be with that. So yeah, I'm not really seeing too much of a difference there. I mean, we've kind of set ourselves up in certain areas initially when we got the platform, as far as the areas that we want to work. Based on our past experiences, our knowledge of the areas and the markets. So with that comes that, that level of business.
Mm-hmm. So are you guys, I mean, I'm sure all across the country, right? I feel like everywhere is super, seller dominated market or whatever. So I'm just curious how those kind of 10 active buyers you have right now, are they finding it hard to, find stuff that's available, or what's it kind of like for you guys down there right now?
Well, right now for us here in Sarasota, and I don't know the number and the exact number, but it's somewhere between, and don't go like, oh, geez, he doesn't know what the number is. So this is valid still, okay? I didn't research it. Like, I don't have it on the screen in front of me here. So, I
trust you.
I appreciate that, Cayla, right back at you. So I gotta believe it's right around 8 that we've done with virtuals that were CINC people, right? Where we're standing on the dirt pile and you're in Albuquerque and you want to see what the view is going to look like when your house is built. Right?
Awesome.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of that, and because of COVID, really. And then that's kind of carried on because I knew, with you guys adapted so quick. And you know what I'm talking about, Cayla. You're smiling right now. With the green button in the property section where you're requesting a virtual showing. That's that's money. That has been the game winner for us too, where people will reach out and say, you know, geez, we have an interest in this area. And my partner who snuck in, did you guys see her sneak in behind me?
I did. Hi.
Okay, that's Trista. There she is. Yeah, and she was in Atlanta as well. But where they're looking for that. Now they've known, you know, maybe the term new norm is overused, but now they understand that that's part of the program. And I think a lot of people that have been on the site for a while had seen these changes. And of course, we remarked on it on the homepage, although most of them don't spend a lot of time on the homepage. They usually go right from the link right into the system. You know, so, but that has been our new norm and how we've adjusted accordingly. And I'm sure there's other people on this call that have done the very same thing, but you know, we're just leveraging the best we can, making the adjustments in business.
That's very cool. I'm glad that one little button has been so beneficial for you guys. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Don't buy that plane ticket unless we go see it virtually.
Yeah.
But we're setting up Zoom meetings all the time, right?
That's awesome.
Love it.
That's just what we're doing, our new norm. What else?
Well, I've got one final question, and maybe Mike has a couple more for you, but I'm curious, like I kind of mentioned at the top, there may be people on here that already are using AI, but we probably have a couple people here that aren't, and they're just curious and they're wanting to kind of see what it's all about. So if we have someone in that boat that's on right now, that's on the fence, will this be beneficial for me or not? What's your advice? As a coach, what's your advice?
All right, yeah. You know, it's just like anything else, right? So if we put something in place, we have to have a process and a system behind it. CINC has created the system and the process, really. We just have to take action in what is being available to, what is made available to us in tools. So this isn't this is not just another shiny object that we want to just avoid altogether because it's going to be an expense without any kind of return. No, not the case at all. This is an expense with a return, not just where you've broken even. This is a bigger return. This is to help, really to assist us all to have a higher level of communication with people, and it's valid. It's not, you know, this guy is gone. Gone, right? And everything that is going on right now is very valid, and it's not anything that to be afraid of. And just, you don't, and a lot of times I think some of the mistakes that you know a mega agent might make is like, I want to keep control over everything, right? And if I'm going to communicate, it's going to be me, or I'm going to be, you know, I just don't trust it, right? And I have got that level. Guys, I'm going to say, let go of that. Let go of that. We've done the beta. That's over. That's done. It is functional. It is valid. It works, and it works at a high level. It's not just satisfactory. It works at a high level, and it really does assist us in making the conversions that we hope to have. In fact, it probably prompts us to be better.
Yeah, just teeing up more opportunity, right?
Yeah, in our own activities. So now there's really more to really latch onto and run with. Yeah.
Awesome. Great answer.
that was going to be close to my last question, but something you said in your response prompted another one here. Oftentimes when we look at things that we add on, especially to something that costs what CINC costs, and we're adding on these different features, we start to look at ROI. And how have you kind of looked at the ROI for AI? Because it doesn't necessarily mean like AI talk to this person, that's a deal closed. It kind of tees up that opportunity for you. So how do you kind of look at that ROI internally in your business?
You know, that awesome. So if we're looking at, you know, 5 closings in 6 months, what could we have done differently? Or what would we have done differently? Let's just say if they just came organically into the system and we had a process of, you know, doing our lead follow-up and all of that, which by the way, we all can do better at, okay? And I'm not by any means, and probably Trista behind me is better than I am on it, and that's right hand, I swear. in terms of follow-up and in terms of, being consistent and having that discipline. That's a gap. That would be a big gap. And I don't know if maybe I might have seen 2 or 3, and I don't have the ability to look backwards, as if we had a crystal ball to understand what it would be or what it wouldn't be if we didn't have CINC in place. All I know is that it has enhanced our ability to make those conversions in such a way that I think that we wouldn't have had. So, Michael, if there's a way that we can figure out what that would look like, your headquarters, it would be like a revolving door up there. People would be showing up saying, get me on this thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it, unless I'm missing it somehow, maybe back before it was beta, right? Maybe that's the comparison. I would say out of the group that came in, if we've gotten 86 leads in a month and we're converting, 30% of those to appointments, and maybe half of those appointments turn into something that will look like business, and maybe half of that turns into closed business. I'd say it probably is pushing us a good 50 to 75% more with AI than it would have been if it wasn't there. And this is totally winging it ballpark.
Well, no, I mean, what you just said totally makes sense, because, previously you didn't have a way to get those soft no's that are so successfully turning into yeses. And so you've got to think those people probably never would have answered the phone. They probably wouldn't have said anything to, an email or something, but those soft no's that y'all are able to follow up with and turn into yeses, that's business that otherwise would have sat in the database and never really gotten touched.
Yeah, and it would have been the time factor, right? You guys, the time factor would have gotten in there. And of course, the more time that goes by, it creates issues, right? We lose opportunity, right? They say time kills deals. I believe, and I don't use the term deals, but time kills opportunities for us to help more people, in this business. And that to me, that's what it's really all about. So, I'd like to let them get in there and experience the site. So they have, once they get registered, so our calls aren't all the time very immediate, but if we're having the type of touch that we get with Alex, with the AI, it's a little less intrusive, perhaps. And it would prompt a response that would be easy for us to go ahead and follow up on.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Mike, do you have any other questions for our wonderful guest?
I don't. I think that was all the questions that we had lined up for today.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, before we go away, right?
Let's hear it.
Pause, hear the drama, the pause. I got my account manager, guys, and I told you I was going to do this. I feel like we have an extended family in Atlanta, and not just an extended team member in Atlanta. And of course, that's our Debbie Cloud. She's awesome, honestly, guys. And the level of personableness that I hear from other people when I was up at Atlanta at that time, as far as their own account managers. And I just want to say a big shout out, not just to Debbie, but also all the folks that really pour into us guys and gals out here that are working the platform, that are getting through all the nuances, that are making it happen. So thank you very much, CINC, for being who you are. You guys are amazing.
Well, thank you. And we are definitely going to let Debbie and her boss know what a great job she's doing. Yeah. But if you're kind of hearing that and thinking like, I don't really have that relationship with my account manager, reach out and, let them know, hey, I want to be more involved. Schedule those monthly calls, email in when you've got questions. They're there to be a resource, just like Debbie is for Andrew. So you know, you just kind of open that line of communication and they'll be right there, you know, ready for, you know, to give you that advice and, you know, the best practices and just checking in. What can I do to help you? Debbie's great at that. And all of our account manager team support, tech support's wonderful. So, and training, you know, my team does a pretty good job.
I think so.
Yes, they do.
So we are very, very thankful that you first came to CINC University and made that better connection even with Debbie. And I know that whenever we see your name on our webinars, we're so excited. So I was so thrilled when you agreed to be our guest today. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing everything with all these people that joined and all the people that will listen later on the recording. They will appreciate it, I know, just as much as I do.
You guys are too kind. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, this recording will be up on cincommunity.com/webinars. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a great rest of the week and make sure you check out cincommunity.com/webinars to register for upcoming sessions as well. And we'll be very glad to see you, just like we're always glad to see Andrew.
All right, super. And I'm open to any of your referrals, by the way. Down here, Andrew Scherer, SCHERER at KW.com.
Wonderful. Got to get that plug.
Gotta get the plug. I love it.
Yeah, you guys didn't ask. I thought maybe, right? But I just threw it in there.
Yeah,
You never
guys.
know. You never know.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Andrew. You're the best, and we will talk to you soon. Bye,
Have a
everybody.
good one.